Hey, are you here? Whoa, yes, you are there. You are. I see you. I hear you. Welcome to the Paul Leslie Hour. What you're about to hear is an audio artifact recorded in Boston, that's in Massachusetts, for a radio broadcast in 2009. Paul E. Leslie was the first American radio guy to interview Ilo Ferreira, a singer-songwriter of immense talent. So, Ilo Ferreira is from a group of islands off the coast of West Africa that form the nation of Cape Verde, or as we call it, Cape Verde. Cape Verde has a strong Portuguese influence and a vibrant music scene. It was in 2006 when singer-songwriter Jimmy Buffett and friends were in Cape Verde hoping to meet the legendary singer of Morna, Cesaria Evora. Well, joining him on this adventure was Chris Blackwell of Island Records, who made Bob Marley world famous. Also, Tom Freston of MTV renown, and author and entertainment executive Bill Flanagan. And one night at Cape Verde restaurant, Ilo Ferreira got up on the small stage to sing and play his guitar. Buffett and his friends became enamored with the young singer, not just his voice, but also by his original songs. On September 8, 2007, Jimmy Buffett welcomed Ilo Ferreira to perform as a special guest at the Gillette Stadium in Massachusetts. The thousands in attendance responded immediately to Ilo. In the next year, Ilo began recording songs in the studio produced by Nashvillian Tony Brown and Muscle Shoals Alabamian Mac McAnally. Now, these days, Ilo Ferreira is still performing in the USA and elsewhere. He joined Paul to talk about his life and his debut EP entitled Ilo, released on Mailboat Records. This interview was recorded June 26, 2009 in Boston, Massachusetts, the city where Ilo was first heard by an American audience. You'll hear Ilo Ferreira's incredible story. Ilo proves great music transcends language, nationality, and age. And speaking of age, this show has been on the air for more than 18 years, and you can help keep us there. Keep the Paul Leslie Hour going. Simply visit www.thepaulleslie.com/support. And we thank you. Now, at long last, this interview sees the light of day.
I'm going to basically write, read my answers and it will be my style.
Okay.
Okay?
Right. Let's,
Just like a school test.
yeah. You just have
Fast.
you have the notes. All right. It is with great pleasure that we welcome our special guest, Mr. Ilo Ferreira. Mr. Ilo Ferreira has come a long way to sing here in Boston tomorrow night. So first of all, thank you very, very much for making the time to do this interview with us today.
Well, this is all my pleasure.
Mr. Ferreira, I was hoping you could tell us about your early life in Cape Verde. For someone who has never been to Cape Verde, what is it like?
Well, I grew up as a very normal kid. I finished my high school and I went to Brazil where I was educated for to be an engineer. Well, during the time in high school, I always played at home, either alone or with some friends of mine from my neighborhood or class colleagues, and participated in a few events and some TV appearances. Well, for someone who never been to Cape Verde, depending of where you are coming from, the first impression is that it might look like a kind of dry country, but as you stay by, you will definitely know of its great people, culture, and great countryside, as well as good beaches. Well, there we have a very simple life, and with some not much sophistication, where people live their life happy and almost with no stress.
What types of music did you listen to growing up?
Well, uh, I heard a lot of people. I had a very strong influence from the America music like Creedence, Elvis Presley, Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, soul music, and also Beatles. Well, in general, rock and roll.
Very good. What was the time you spent in Sao Paulo, Brazil like? Were you exposed to a lot of new music there?
Well, Brazil is a very beautiful country, and I had a very great period of my life there. I've met a lot of great people and made some great friends. During this period, I had the opportunity to be in touch with its great culture and great music. But mostly, more than ever, I was exposed to the rock and roll I grew up listening to, and it hit me just like a wake up call. And definitely, that's when I decided to be a musician instead of an engineer.
Music runs in your family. I know that one of the songs on the EP of yours has a song. It's a song that your father wrote, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. But tell us about your father, Vladimiro Ferreira.
Oh yes, almost there. Valdemiro Ferreira. Well, uh, definitely he's responsible for the rock music I grew up with. I became fan of all his rock idols. Um well, my father, he makes his living out of the shipping business, but as a human being, he's a natural musician, a great songwriter who have wrote some of our great songs. He has so many great songs that only few people knows, that even him can't remember, especially the songs that he wrote when I was just a kid. Uh, I have one of his songs in my album named Get the People Together, and there's so many other songs I intend to bring to the attention of the world. Well, today he plays once in a while in the bars back there in Cape Verde, uh, and he did become a national brand when the show is Carnival, with most of our Carnival songs written by him.
I didn't give you any warning about this question, but I'd like to know about the carnival.
Well, the Carnival, it's a great party time that we have back there in Cape Verde, and we have a strong influence from the Brazilian culture. And it's really big deal for us, the Carnival, and it's almost 3 weeks of parties every weekend, and it's fantastic. I like it very much.
What inspires you to write songs?
Well, it's kind of hard to say. It comes naturally, and most of the time, all I need is a few minutes in front of a software, music software, or being in touch just with me and my guitar. But sometimes when I'm concentrated, when I'm studying something, when I'm learning something, and I spend a few times concentrated focus in that thing, if I find a way to escape out of that thing and start playing, I tend to write songs right away. I don't know, but that's what happened.
The inspiration just kind of hits you. When someone listens to your recorded music or when you perform live, what do you want the audience to get from the experience?
I expect to take the audience to the place where I first experienced that song.
Well, that's a great answer. When you met Mr. Jimmy Buffett and his friends, what was your impression of Jimmy?
Well, I gotta tell you that I didn't know much about Jimmy Buffett, and that night, Luckily, we had a jam section, and as Jimmy Buffett start playing, uh, I definitely become a great fan of Jimmy Buffett in that right moment because I could recognize in him the songs that I grew up listening to. And something that is very interesting is that after meeting Jimmy Buffett, I went to the internet searching try to know a little bit more about him. And I found out that he wrote one of the songs that I first tried to sing in English without even knowing the language, which is La Vie Dansant, recorded by I think Aaron Neville. And that was just fantastic for me, you see. And Jimmy Buffett, that night, that impression that I got from him from the dinner that we had before the jam section is that he was really a great guy. He by the talk that he had with everybody, I said to me, this is a great human being, and I can see it right now.
So why do you think it is that he is so popular here in America and in other places?
Who? Jimmy Buffett. Why? Well, I think that the kind of music he plays is a kind of international music. Doesn't matter where you live, it might touch you somehow. And I think this is what Jimmy Buffett's music does, and it touched me a bit before even knowing him. So,
What do you want to happen with your music?
well, I'd like to reach just as many as I can and make them feel just like my idol did and still doing in every step of my life.
Great answer. Um, you've gotten a chance to play with a lot of the people in Jimmy's band, and I'm wondering, what do you think about the people that are in Jimmy Buffett's band?
Well, I gotta tell you that Jimmy has a really great team surrounding him. Everybody's just fantastic. Everybody's very professional, and everybody's really, really good, whatever they played. And for me, it's a pleasure to be in that team. And that's amazing. That's just fantastic, and everybody's just happy that every that happy that people see the band enjoying on the stage. That is completely natural, and that happiness is coming from the backstage. That is just fantastic.
The first time you played in front of a huge crowd was when Jimmy Buffett brought you here to Massachusetts. I think to play in front of I don't know how many thousands of people. Here we are in Massachusetts. So I was hoping for all the listeners at home, you can take us through the experience from your own eyes. What is it like walking out on stage and seeing a sea of people with every single eye on you?
Well, it was a terrific experience for me. A new world in front of my eyes. I got a chance to see great rock musicians and the opportunity to see the big engine supporting the big shows. When I got to the stage in front of all those people, my mind stopped. My world stopped and it starts moving as a slow motion. But luckily, as soon as the songs start, I woke up and I felt really blessed to be there on the stage with them in front of those, I think it was 57,000 people in the stage that day. I gotta tell you that where I live in my island, we have about 70,000 people. So,
Were you intimidated or afraid at all?
well, I gotta tell you that as I step into the stage, I I tend to focus in a very small amount of people, but in no way I felt intimidated for them. And it was really good for me being there singing for all those people. Really great experience.
You have recorded an EP that was produced by Tony Brown and Mac McAnally. What was the process of making these recordings like?
Well, it was something totally new for me. And Jimmy, Tony, and Mac McNally, they put together a really great band to cut that album for me. I have Mr. Billy Payne playing their piano and keyboards, and also I just can't I think it's Glenn, the name of the bass player. I think he's the bass player of Mark Knopfler. So I mean, and the rest of the band, I'm not sure, but they are if they are that known, but they are really really good musician. And I was just blew up the way they learn those songs just like that fast. They listening to those songs one or two times, and we went to the studio and cut them just perfect, and at most three times, but most of the songs we cut them on the second try. So it was something really good for me.
Didn't you record parts of that album at Shrimp Boat Sound in Key West?
Oh yes, talking about studios, I had the opportunity to be recording in three studios. One of them, uh, one of them is the studio in Nashville, which is Blackbird, really good studio. The another studio is the Shrimp Boat Studio, Jimmy Buffett studio in Key West. That was really fun too. And well, I gotta tell you, I just missed the name of the third studio, which is in Bahamas. And Chris Blackwell used to own that studio. Compass Point, that's right.
This is always a tough question to ask people. What is it you like about music?
Well, I made my homework, so I gotta tell you this really easy. The places, the thing that I like in music is the places it takes you inside you, and the ability to bring to the superfice the best of the humankind.
Great answer. One of the songs on the album, the first track, is Let Me Love You. Tell us about that song.
Well, that song I wrote it back in Brazil. Actually, I wrote a, some of the songs I have in this album. I wrote them in Brazil, and that song I wrote it when I mean, it was on my second year in Brazil. And before going to Brazil, I had a girlfriend that after 2 years in Brazil, I was living there in Brazil and she was in Cape Verde. We had to split away. And I think that it might had some influence in me because the original name of the song is Searching for My Love. And that's the whole idea of that song is somewhat that song is singing of someone who is running all around the world searching for his love, and where it says that every corner, every street, every human beat heart is a hope for him.
Very lovely. One of the songs on the album is a cover of a Ben Harper song, and he's great. And that song is Lifeline. Was it your idea to cover that song?
No, that was Jimmy Buffett's idea, and I gotta tell you that I fell in love with that song just as soon as I heard it. I mean, the lyrics is really good, it's really deep, and that's a really good song. But I had to make some change orders in that song to put it just like the way I feel things, and that's why we have to change it a little bit. Little bit talking about the timing of that song, but it remained pretty much the same. And it's a great song, and I'm very happy to have this Ben Harper song in my album. I know he's a great artist.
And there's another cover song on there, "Sunny Day," and that's one of those songs. If you listen to it, you're sure to be happy just listening to it, and it fits perfect for you. So tell us about that one.
Well, this song was wrote by Mac McNally, one of the producer of my album, and Mac came with this song on the first day that we've met in Nashville, and the idea of that song was really make people happy, as he told me and Tony Brown. And well, that song talks about sunny day and talks about what is really common among all the races and among doesn't matter which level of society you live, we all smile when there's sunny day.
I was wondering, how many languages do you speak? Because you're speaking very fluent English. It's good English, and you also, I think it's in Portuguese. There's all right. Well, tell us about, first of all, the languages you speak, and also the song "Fisherman's Song."
Well, thank you for saying that I speak a good English, but English is my third language. My second language is Portuguese, and my first language is Criollo, which is the Cape Verdean language, which is a mix of Portuguese, English, French, and some language from the continent, from the African continent. Well, that song, Fishman's Song, it's a song that talks about the story of the fishman, and probably you have a lot of them here in the United States. In my country, in the island that I live, there's a street named Streets of the Fishmen, and in that streets you almost can hear any kind of story of fishing men's, and that's where comes the inspiration for this song. And this particular song, he's talking about three guys in a bar exchanging experience of fishing, and one of them just came with a story that he caught a fish with almost 3 meters longer and 2 meters wide, which is something really crazy. And that's it. That's what this song talks about.
I love asking this question because everybody has something that their mother made them to eat that's different. I didn't warn you about this, but I love asking this question because I also think it tells a little bit about the person. What is your absolute favorite meal to eat?
This is a very funny question, especially for me, because uh, I'm really, I think that I am really strange about eating. I lived in Brazil for 6 years. My first year there, I ate on the university restaurant. Then, for the next 2 years, I ate home, but I found a really nice lady that made my meals. And during those 2 years, I ate chicken every day, chicken. And then on my third year, I discovered picanha, which is a kind of steak in Brazil, which is really, really good. And I fell in love with it, and I ate it for next 3 years. Then I returned back home in 2005, and since 2005, I've been eating chicken almost every day. I don't know. This is me. When I find something that I like, I start eating that. I mean, just as much as I can. And this is funny because now that I am in the United States, my road manager, Clem, he's been watching me that I've been eating hot dogs every day. I mean, I don't know, but I'm enjoying this so far. But to tell you specifically, my favorite meal is picanha steak, white rice, salad, and French fries. That's it. That's what makes me happy.
I heard the story about. We didn't really get to cover this, but I'm asking it now. I heard the story about when you first met him, and how he was trying to meet Cesaria Evora, who I just interviewed. Yeah, not here in America, but on the phone. And that's an interesting story. I'm sorry that she didn't go down to meet him, but I'm sure she will next time. So tell us that story. That's a good story.
Well, it was a kind of funny story because I know Cesaria since I was really, really, really young. Cesaria, before long while before being famous worldwide, she used to sing back in Cape Verde, and she was a really close friend of my father. So she used to go to my home at the weekend. So I kind of know her for a long time, and she was living in the she used to live in a house next to my home, so she was my neighborhood. So my father is a very close friend of her, and well, I think that Cesaria did not see them because probably she didn't know who they were, because Cesaria has a lot of people coming to her home every day, just to see her, to get, her signature. And that especially day, I think that they didn't know to introduce those fellows to her, and that's why she didn't come down to see them. But after their departure, my father went to talk to her, and she was really, really regret for not seeing them, and she promised that whenever they got the chance, she would see them. And a few months ago, I think, Jimmy Buffett just emailed me that he got to meet her in, I think that it is some Bart, I'm not sure which, Saint Bart, probably that's it, because she went there for a very private show, and Jimmy was in that show, and they got to meet each other there.
My one final question before we leave. This special is going out to listeners all over the world. What would you, Ilo Ferreira, like to say to all of those people that are listening in?
Well, for those I couldn't touch their hearts with my music, I will keep on trying. But for those I've reached their hearts, know that I live with every second of joy, happiness, and peace brought to their face with my music.
That was lovely. Thank you so much for this interview. It's a pleasure to meet you, and I can't wait to hear you sing tomorrow.
Thank you very much. The pleasure was all mine.
Thank you for stopping by today. If you enjoyed our program, consider telling a friend about it. The Paul Leslie Hour is made possible through people just like you. So you want to keep the show going, right? Go to thepaulleslie.com. That's thepaulleslie.com. Click on Support the Show. And thanks to everyone who contributes. Performance of the intro music is courtesy of John Primorano, The Entertainer, written by Scott Joplin. End credit theme music is courtesy of John Primorano, the traditional song Corina Corina. Your announcer is Dan Gold. Hey, that's me. The show is hosted and produced by Paul Leslie. And we'll see you next time on the Paul Leslie Hour.